Cursed Hollow.
Adjective or punctuation. And then in blue we have some additional morphology details on the word. There's more of these returned for Spanish and Japanese, which are the other two languages that the API currently supports.
I stand ready.
So the syntax annotation feature might be a little harder to grasp when you might use this in an application. So I wanted to show you a demo specifically focused on that feature. And for this demo, over the course of the past few days, I think the mic, there we go, mic is back. I've been using the Twitter streaming API to stream tweets about Google Next. So I've streamed tweets with the hashtag Google Next 17 and a couple other search terms. I wrote a node server that's running on Compute Engine. And I'm streaming those tweets. The streaming API gathers just a subset of those tweets, not all the tweets with that hashtag. And I'm sending the text of the tweet to the natural language API, and then I'm storing the response in BigQuery. BigQuery is our big data analytics.
Here we go again!
Warehouse tool. Lets you do analytics on really large data sets. I'm storing it in BigQuery, and then from there I can gather some data on the parts of speech in the sentence, so I can find, for example, like the most common adjectives that people are using to tweet about Google Next. So if we could go to the demo. Cool, so this is the BigQuery web UI, which lets you run queries directly in the browser. So here I just did a limit 10 to show you what the table looks like. I think I've got about 6,000 to 7,000 tweets in here so far. So here I'm collecting the ID of the tweet, the text, the created at, how many followers the user has, what hashtags it finds that's returned from the Twitter API, and then I've got this giant JSON string of the response from the natural language API. So you're probably wondering, how am I going to write a SQL query to parse that? Well, BigQuery has a feature called user-defined functions, which lets you write custom JavaScript functions that you can run on rows in your table. So over here, I've got a query that's going to run on every tweet in this table. And my JavaScript function is right here. And what it's going to do is it's going to count all of the adjectives and then return that in my output table. So if I run this query here, it's running this custom JavaScript function on all the tweets in my table, which I think is at about 6,000 right now. It ran pretty fast, and I'm not using cached results. So let's take a look. We've got 405 uses of the word more, new, great, good.
Prepare yourself for battle, heroes.
Of course.
Are you ready
more
for
here.
the bloodshed to come?
Most assuredly. But you, well, just be careful, okay? We have all the time in the world.
The battle begins in 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2,
This way
1.
again? Or,
Let the battle begin.
alright, now I attack this one. So much left to be done. This way again? Or... So much left to be done. I knew I could rely on you.
Choose a talent.
That's right. That's right. Magnificent. Time to take things in my own hands. All the time in the world. Good night.
No escape!
Time to make my retreat. Excellent healing, friend. This way again? Or...
You're mine!
Have I done this before?
Heroes, gather tribute and earn my favor.
Hey, for making me retreat!
Talent? Ah, that seems generous.
I grew tired of this battle.
So much left to be done. Sorry about this.
robbery. Gather tribute. Earn my favor. A good kill.
I need mana. Let's try again. Or...
Double kill.
Impressive.
Now's the perfect time for some mercenary friends. Ah, of course. Here we go.
Shall we see who gathers enough tribute this time?
I've done this before. Oh, I need to be somewhere else. Let's get moving.
That was rather fun. Double kill. Triple kill.
If it's...
Fall
we
back.
have all the time in the world. Yes, that's right. Yay for us!
Perhaps these mercenaries were
The time stream won't repair itself. I knew I could rely on you.
Choose a talent.
Of course! Need to go away from here very fast. Sorry about this. I knew I could rely on you. Rewind.
Slain.
Let's get moving. Time to make my
Mayhem.
good night. Oh, you've undone my wounds.
Gather tribute
Thank you.
or face my curse. The choice is simple. Slain. Your killing spree is over. I say,
I will conquer, even in death.
Okay, Chromie.
My favor is
That
yours,
mistake again next
heroes.
time.
Your enemies shall fall.
Time to make my retreat. Of course. Sorry about this.
A good kill.
I'm more powerful than I appear, you know.
Fort destroyed.
Sorry about this.
Choose a talent.
All the time in the world. Terrific choice.
My curse subsides.
Let's get moving.
Fort demolished.
The time stream won't repair itself.
That was rather violent.
So much left to be done. You're in trouble. Healing fountain for you.
Pick up this weakling.
All right, now I attack this. Let's get moving. I'm more powerful than I appear, you know. To make my retreat. Let's get moving. Excellent healing, friend.
Shall we see who gathers enough tribute this time?
That's right.
Excellent. Double kill.
I am too much for you, it seems.
Hey everyone.
Killing
Let's attack
spree.
here. I knew I could rely. Marvelous work, everyone.
Your enemy has destroyed a fort.
Yes, that's right. Now's the perfect time for some mercenary friends. No, no, you're not supposed to be there. Sorry about this.
Perhaps these mercenaries will join us.
The time stream won't repair itself. Of course.
gather tribute or face my curse. The choice is simple. Double kill. Your killing spree is over.
So that's one example of a use case for the syntax annotation feature of the natural language API. You can go back to the slides.
Your fort has fallen. Choose a talent. Retire slowly. Gather tribute. Earn my favor.
Hey everyone, let's attack here. Have I done this before? But time stream won't repair itself.
Unacceptable. You shall know my curse.
Try and stop me!
Done. Here we go.
Your fort has been destroyed.
For the true horde!
You have lost a key. The enemy is attacking your core. I believe that key was yours. Enough! The curse is over. I have no more. Let's play again sometime.
MVP.
Natural language API lets you do analysis on text. One other thing that you might want to do with text is translate it. You likely have users of your application all over the world. Be useful to translate it into their host language. And then translation API exposes the functionality of Google Translate to developers and lets you translate text in 100+ languages. And for a second, let's talk about Google Translate. I'm a big fan of Google Translate. Has anyone here used it before? Looks like a lot of people. I use it when I travel all the time. So a couple months ago, I was on a trip to Japan. I was at a restaurant where nobody spoke English, and I really wanted to order octopus. So I typed it into Google Translate. Turns out the word for that is taco, which confused me a little bit. Didn't want to order an octopus taco, although maybe that would be good. So I just showed the person at the restaurant my Google Translate app, successfully got my octopus. That's a picture of it right there. But likely you want to do more than translate the word for octopus. And that's why we have the translation API, which lets you translate text in your application in many different languages. And Airbnb is an example of a company that's using the translation API. And what you might not know is that 60% of Airbnb bookings connect people that are using the app in different languages. Because people use Airbnb a lot, especially when they travel internationally. And so for all of those connections, they're using the Translate API to translate not only listings, but also reviews and conversations into the person's host language. And they found that this significantly improves a guest's likelihood to book if it's translated into their host language. That's one example of someone using the translation API. It's pretty self-explanatory, but I wanted to show you a code snippet of how easy it is to call the API. This is some Python code that's making a request to the translation API. And you can see here we just create a translate client, and then we pass it the phrase we'd like to translate, the target language. It'll detect the original language for us, and then we can print the result. And one thing we've added to the translation API recently is neural machine translation, and this greatly improves the underlying translation model. And basically the way it works is with first generation translation, which is what we had before, it was translating each word in a sentence separately. So let's say you had a dictionary and you were looking up word for word each sentence in the dictionary and translating it without understanding the context around that word. That works pretty well, but what neural machine translation does is it actually looks at the surrounding words and it's able to understand the context of the word in the sentence, and it's able to produce much higher quality translations. There's a great New York Times article with a lot more details on how that model works. You can find it at that bit.ly link there. If anyone wants to take a picture, I'll leave it up for a second. And just to show you some of the improvements that neural machine translation brings, this is a lot of text, I know, but what I did is I took a paragraph from the Spanish version of Harry Potter. So this is the original text that the Spanish translator wrote. And then I showed you in first generation translation in the middle, how it'll translate that to English. And then in neural machine translation, all the way on the right-hand side. And I bolded the improvements. So we can look at a few of them. The first bold word says which made drills. It's describing the company where he works. And then neural machine translation is able to change that word to manufactured, which is much more specific to the context of the sentence. Another example is if we look at where it's describing Mrs. Dursley's neck, the first generation says almost twice longer than usual. In the second version, it says almost twice as long as usual, which is a slight improvement. And then if we look at the bottom, it goes from fence of the gardens to garden fence. And then the last example, the first generation used the pronoun there, and then neural machine translation is able to identify the correct pronoun, her, more specifically. So just a quick example highlighting some improvements that neural machine translation brings to the translation API. And on its own, the translation API is pretty self-explanatory, but I wanted to show you a small demo of a Python script I wrote of how to combine different APIs together. So in this demo, it'll take 3 types of text input. It could take either raw text, audio, or an image of text, and then we'll pass it through the natural language API, and then finally we'll translate it into a few languages, and then we'll translate it back to English so that you can see the result. So if we could switch back to the demo. Looks like it's up here. So I'm going to run the script, Python textify.py, and it's going to tell me we're going to send some text to the natural language API. It supports English, Spanish, and Japanese, and I have 3 options. I can either type my text, record a file, or send a photo with text. So I'm going to type some text. I'm going to say we are using the translation API. It is awesome. And we got a bunch of data back here. So this is what the JSON response looks like just for one token. I didn't want to print the whole JSON blob here. This is just for the token we. This is all the data it returns. So it tells us it's a pronoun. And a lot of these part of speech morphology data is going to be unknown for English, but it relates to the other languages that the API supports. But it is able to tell us that it is a plural token, and it is in first person. And it is the nominal subject of the sentence. And we ran some sentiment analysis on it. So it says, you seem very happy, was an excited sentence. And it tells us the entities it found. So it found translation API. And the way the entity analysis endpoint works is it's able to identify entities even if they don't have a Wikipedia URL. So translation API doesn't, but it's still able to pull this out as an entity. So if we were, for example, building an app to maybe route customer feedback, we could say, okay, this feedback is asking about the translation API, and then we could route it to the appropriate person. So now we're going to translate this text, and let's translate it into Japanese. There we go.
as the old gods demand. You dare trespass into my domain?
Hope you're ready. We start in 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let the battle begin!
Finish this! None can stop the living flame! Your judgment has come! Forward, minions! I shall crush you firsthand! Behold Ragnaros! I shall crush you firsthand! Outsiders!
The light of the sun glows within the temple. Soon they shall bask in light.
All will be consumed. You will perish in flames. Want to burn first? I shall crush you firsthand.
Choose a talent.
I shall crush you firsthand. Behold Ragnaros. Be seared by fire.
You know, it's so cool when they explode like that.
Temple's magic subsides. Find something else to fight over.
Behold! Forward, minions! Judgment has come!
Choose a talent.
Still too soon. I will return.
magic flows through the temples. Guardians, do not let these mortals approach them.
Forward, minions.
Capture this mercenary camp! The light of the sun grows within the temples. Soon they shall bask in my glory.
Your judgment has come.
My magic flows through the temples. Guardian! These mortals approach them.
Fire be purged!
Our fort was destroyed.
My flame spread.
Like a champ. Hey, that was our fort! Choose a talent. Oh, that hero's must be destroyed!
My temple's power has been expanded. You are stronger than I believed.
I must take a short retreat. Fight well in my absence.
Our fire! Straight! Enough! I will finish this! As the old gods demanded, you will perish in flames!
Choose a talent.
From the firelands, I am reborn!
There goes a port.
The firelands call.
Just me. Hey, those sports don't grow on trees. Or maybe they do.
Will be consumed. Bind these mercenaries to my will. Your judgment has come. Behold! Forward, minions.
To learn to pick ourselves up.
This hero pick. Let's see how you fight.
You have stolen enough of my temple's power. Return to your war heroes.
Praise their forge. Praise their forge.
There goes the fort.
Crush their core. By fire be burned. Your judgment has come.
That was fun.
MVP.
hold out.
Finally.
Anna checking in.
I'm here to help.
I will not be denied.
Ready for adventure!
There we go. So this is the version translated into Japanese. I'm guessing most of us don't speak Japanese, so I've translated it back to English, and you can see that it did a pretty good job. So I'm going to run the script once more. And this I'm going to use an image. So if we look over here, I've got just a generic resume image. We're going to pass this to the API. So I'll clear the screen and run the text again. We're going to send a photo this time, and it is resume.jpg. Sending it to the Vision API, and the Vision API found, if we scroll up, all this text in the image. Using the new document text extraction, it was able to pull essentially all the text from that resume. There's an example of what a token returned, and it found all these different entities. And now we can translate it. Let's translate it to German. There's a lot of text there, I know. This is the resume translated into German, and then again back to English. So just an example of how you can combine multiple machine learning APIs to do some cool text analysis. And you can go back to the slides now. So that was the translation API. And the last thing I want to talk about is the video intelligence API. How many of you saw it at the keynote yesterday? Looks like most of you. So the video intelligence API lets you understand your video's entities at a shot, frame, or video level. So video level entities, it'll tell you at a high level, what is this video about? And then it'll give you more granular data on what is happening in each scene of the video. A company that's using this is Cantemo. They're a media asset management company. So a company or user that has a lot of videos would upload their videos to Cantemo, and Cantemo would help them better understand those videos, search their library, transcode videos. And this is a quote from the VP of Product Development at Cantemo. He says, "Thanks to the Google Cloud Video Intelligence API, we've been able to very quickly process and understand the content of video down to the individual frame with an impressively rich taxonomy." So they're using the video API to help their customers.
Prepare for battle.
They're going to throw everything they have at us, but it won't be enough.
No way we can lose! Here comes a new challenger!
The battle starts in 10 seconds. Go. 4, 3, 2, 1. The battle begins. 始め。
Let's see them stop!
Restoring your health. Restoring your health.
Get through this!
Take your medicine.
Ready for APM Dementia, what's that?
Take your medicine.
I'm on it! Time to raise my APM! Plat! APM
The beacons are energizing. You have to control them.
Double kill.
healed up!
That was good.
I need to return to base.
The beacons have activated. Control them. Please let this work.
I'm on up!
Impressive. Know yourself in the face of death.
ده هيكون مؤلم.
I'm on it! Defense matrix activated! Nurse this! Ready for action! Aw! Mecha activated! Game on! Diva moving out!
larger wave of Zerg than we will.
Roger. I'm not on it. Get through this. Nerf this.
You have been cut down.
Oh, thank goodness. We live another day.
Thanks. Diva, moving out. Time to raise my EPM. No problem. Suiting up.
Take your medicine.
Diva, moving out.
Let's retreat.
I'm going in.
Select a tower.
Big shot.
Double kill.
Not
Here we
bad.
go again. The beacons are powering up.
Nerf this. You lose.
Your enemy has lost a point.
All systems checked out. I'm back in the fight.
The beacons are now online. Please keep them out of enemy hands.
I have you now. Target locked. Get through this.
No powder. Get in there.
Double kill.
Incredible.
Let's go for the high score.
Killing spree.
The incoming Zerg rush is technically smaller than the one headed for our enemy, but it's still an incoming Zerg rush.
Sometimes I still feel that.
Diva, moving out.
Take a tower.
Upgrade complete. I have you now.
No powder. Get in there.
Impressive. Double kill.
Oh, almost like me.
Dark.
No problem. You lose.
Zerg waves defeated. Resetting pins as per protocol.
BRB! Here comes a new challenger!
Not bad.
You lose!
Double kill.
Here comes a new challenger! Love Diva!
Looks like the beacons are reactivating.
Mayhem.
Here comes a new challenger!
Attain control of those beacons. We don't want to face angry Zerg.
Take your medicine.
Here comes a new
Killing spree has ended. Gigatant. Keep destroying.
Uh-huh.
Your pa-
I'm on it!
Hero slain.
At least the Zerg that are coming for us are not as numerous as the ones our enemies face. So maybe there's hope yet.
Taking the shot!
Avoiding strike. Double kill.
Incredible.
Here comes a new challenger!
Sometimes I still feel that rush.
Here comes a new challenger!
You're powered up. Get in there.
Double kill. Triple kill.
Not bad.
You have won the battle.
MVP.
Garden of Terror.
My blades are yours.
I play to win!
Unbridled energy!
Melun, grant us strength.
This realm needs me. We took it.
Frostborn hungers. Victory above all! Tremble before me!
I stand ready.
We took it.
Prepare for battle.
Have you readied yourself for the hunt?
You know it! Here comes a new challenger! BRB!
The battle starts in
Bring it
10
on.
seconds. Go. 4, 3, 2, 1. Show me what you can do.
Let's see them stop! I'm parting to base.
Heroes, night will fall in just a few moments. I hope you're ready.
Okay with me. I have you now.
Not quite enough.
No problem.
The Shamblers rise! Slay them! Claim their seeds!
Time to raise my DPM. Ready for action. 다 간다.
Choose a talent.
Roger. In my crosshairs. Fever, moving out. Target locked.
You have been slain.
I'm on it. I'm going in. Nerf this. I'm on it.
The sun dawns. My children must sleep. For now.
I have you now.
Your enemy has spawned a terror. Interesting.
No problem.
Select a talent.
Ready for action.
Is but a
okay with me.
The enemy has destroyed your fort.
Night falls, heroes. How I love to see my garden in the moon's glow.
Let's go for the high score. BRB. Diva, moving out.
Choose a talent.
Talent? That seems generous.
The Shamblers rise again! Free my seeds, heroes!
No problem. Let's go for the high score. Thanks. In my crosshair. Okay with me.
Your fort has been shattered.
This. Okay with me.
Finally, you have enough seeds! Can you feel the terror growing?
Oh, you must like me. Diva, moving out.
It is time to harvest! Bring my terror to life!
Oh, you must like me.
Rise, my terror! Sap the life from your enemies!
A fort has been taken down.
I'm on it. Target locked.
Pick a talent.
It's over for now, but don't get too comfortable. The infested will return again. is composed. A terror has grown for your enemies, heroes.
Ready for action! I'm on offense!
Well done. Your enemy's terror is real.
Know yourself in the face of death.
Good work.
I'm glad someone benefits from my suffering. Out of my way!
Let's bring in some mercs!
Night falls in 30 seconds. Are you ready for some amusement?
What a joyous night to have a curse.
Your core is under attack.
Hold on for that advantage much
Your
longer.
core is under attack. is at your core. Learn from this loss.
MVP.